In these short videos I'm showing you how to transition from Excel to Python. If you know the basics of Python but still struggle to actually use it, this series is for you. In this episode we will cover how to make Vlookup in Python, so let's start with seeing what we've got in the example. So there is a table that contains employee data and we will want to match information that is in two other tables. The first information would be city matched on department ID. The second information will be insurance number that will be based on first and last name. I will briefly demonstrate how to do it in Excel first. As for city, we will have to rearrange the column order, so department ID is in the first column. And then we just write standard Vlookup formula. As for insurance number, we'll have to create helper columns in both tables. So we have concatenated first and last name. That will be the key for matching. And again, Vlookup, then we will copy paste it as values and remove the helper column. Here is our output with two extra columns, and this is what we want to achieve. So let's move to Python. I've got imported pandas as PD, and I load into memory 3 tables that we will use. Usually I print the first 5 rows of the table using head and also the shape of it. So these are our tables: the employee table, the department data, and also insurance number. Let's get started then. The first information that we want to add is department city. We will store our final output under alias df. We will combine information from both tables, dfee and dfdep. And we will do that using method merge. So it reads dfee, method merge, then as a first argument would be dfdep, then second argument would be how, and this would be left because we are actually doing a left join. Then we specify what will be our key for joining the tables, both on left side and right side. In both instances, it will be department ID. And that's actually it. So let's prepare our prints, both for head and shape, so we can easily see the results. And when we look at the output, we can also notice that we have not only city, but also department name and department address. This is because we've joined the whole tables together. We can fix that in at least 2 different ways. The first one would be passing a drop method, and as an argument for this drop method we will write columns, and then as values pass the list of column labels that we want to remove. So let's run it and see. Okay, so now we've got only city. The extra columns are not there, so everything is fine. And there is also a second way, because we can actually remove these columns before we do the merge. So we will specify columns that will be taken into consideration when merging. From table df_dep, we actually need only department ID and city. We can run it and see the error, which is because I forgot to add another pair of brackets. After correcting it, it is fine. So the result is exactly the same as with the first way. But there is a different issue with this output, because look at the first 4 rows. You can see that these first 2 records are actually doubled. And when we look at the FEE table, they have only single records. So the issue is elsewhere. Let's see how the table df_department looks like. For this, we will need to remove the head method so we can see the whole data frame. And note that department ID 12 has doubled record in the table. This is why when we are joining the 2 tables together, we have 2 times more records for this particular department ID. What we have to do shortly after loading this table into memory would be removing the duplicate records. And we can do that using drop_duplicates method. The first parameter is keep. This is actually default, but I suggest that you use it so you are aware that there is opportunity to have, for instance, last row kept. But we will keep the first one, and the other parameter would be in place, and this is true. We can write this line in a different way. They are both valid. I prefer the first one, but the second one would be without in place, or actually this in place would be set as false. But well, this is the same. We only need the one line, so I will comment out the second one. And well, that's actually the first task that we've done, and let's move to the second one. In the second merge, we will combine previously created DF table with DF insurance, because this is where we store insurance number. Again, this is left merge or left join. As for left on and right on parameters, we will pass lists of column labels. In our instance, it would be first and last name from both tables. Note that we don't need to create a helper column like we needed in Excel. We can just pass a list of column labels, and the matching will use them both. Let's see the output. And yes, we have insurance number, but also we have first and last name columns again. And as in the previous example, we can fix that in at least 2 ways. The first way would be dropping the extra columns. So this list, first name, last name, this is to be removed. After we run it, it looks correct. And there is another way. I will comment out the first way. Copy the code, remove the drop from the end. We will change the column labels for DF insurance. So we will use rename method and then pass a parameter called columns, and its value would be a dictionary of old names and new names. As the last parameter, we will pass in place and value true. I also need to update the write-on parameter because now the column labels are written in a different way. And because these column labels are written in the same way, they are not doubled in the final output. So what we can do, we can compare the results with what we've done in Excel. I will use the toClipboard method that will store the data frame in the memory, and we can paste it directly into Excel spreadsheet. It will always paste the table with row indexes, and the outputs are the same. I'd like to encourage you to look into the documentation for merging. You can find description of all other parameters and also with examples. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching.